Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode review and breakdown for Marvel What If. Today we're talking episode 7, What If Thor Were an Only Child, where we got to see Party Thor in action, along with a whole bunch of other characters, because there's some mayhem and a lot of chaos going on here, but I absolutely loved it. It was such a weird, crazy episode, especially looking at other episodes, like, for example, the Doctor Strange one, or the Zombies one, where, like, people were dying and stuff, and then you have this one that's just, like, so silly and crazy and wild, but I absolutely love it. That's one of the cool things about What If, is that every episode is so different, and I think that's just so cool. But anyways, guys, spoiler warning, if you haven't seen the episode yet, great episode, check it out, but we're gonna go ahead and break this thing down in depth, so let's get into spoilers. So we start off the episode with basically Thor, the Warriors 3, and Sif arriving on Earth, and they're ready to party. Like, they're just showing up and they are ready to party. And then we get that nice little backstory thing from the Watchers saying, like, on a different universe, like, Thor and Loki were brothers and, like, adopted brothers and all that stuff. But then he explains that in this world, Odin returned Loki to the Frost Giants. So Thor and Loki were never brothers, so that's definitely going to have a huge impact on Thor, because he learned a lot of his life lessons from growing up with Loki as a child. So then basically Thor just starts teleporting a bunch of different alien characters here to Earth to just have this crazy universal party where you got characters like Howard the Duck, you got some Skrulls, Yondu, the Grandmaster and Topaz, Nebula, Korg, Valkyrie, Aisha, Mantis, Rocket Raccoon. There may have been some other ones, point them out in the comments below for ones that I didn't mention. But that was just so cool right there, just seeing all of those various characters. It was really awesome to see. And then we also got to see in this episode the return of Darcy and Jane Foster. Of course, we just saw Darcy make a return in WandaVision. We're going to be seeing Jane Foster come back in live action next year with Thor Love and Thunder. So, really nice to see them back. And they get into some interesting stuff here too, because Darcy ends up marrying Howard the Duck, and Jane is just flirting with Thor, and they, kind of blossom their relationship just like they do in the movies. And she wakes up the next morning with Thor actually in her apartment, so it seems like they actually spent the night together. But then Brock Rumlow, who in the movies becomes Crossbones, and also Maria Hill, they end up knocking on Jane's door because they gotta fix things. Like, they gotta send Thor away, they gotta take him down, so they call Captain Marvel. Meanwhile, you have Thor and his friends just continuing to party, and Loki shows up, and this was another hilarious moment because, again, Loki was not adopted by Odin, so he became a full frost giant, so he's a giant blue frost giant, and he and Thor are like best friends. They're like brothers from, like, Thor is Loki's brother from another mother, and that was just so hilarious seeing this new side of Loki where he was like actually cool and like ready to party and all that stuff. So that was great to see. But then, of course, Captain Marvel shows up. She and Thor battle. She actually gets defeated because she wasn't using the full extent of her powers. But then Thor just ends up causing some more mayhem and more chaos where so you actually see Surtur flirting with the Statue of Liberty. Some of the Frost Giants ice up Mount Rushmore. So Jane and Darcy, they realize that they got to do something. And they realize, alright, so if Thor is a thing and Loki is a thing, just basing off Norse mythology, that means Heimdall is a thing and Frigga is a thing. So they call out and contact Heimdall. Heimdall brings them to Frigga, and then basically, Jane basically tells Frigga about everything that Thor's doing on Earth, and of course, because she's his mother, she freaks out and she's going after him. So she actually interrupts a battle between Thor and Captain Marvel here, and then basically he's in trouble because, like, oh great, now my mother's coming, so I gotta clean up because she thinks I'm doing a cultural expedition with my study group on Earth. So then he ends the party and they all clean up Earth, and then of course at the end Frigga arrives, and it's like that classic thing you see in movies all the time. It's like all of a sudden, like, the place is like back to normal, and it's like, oh yeah, it's just a study group, it's going great and everything. And then that's it. Then we get a nice happy ending for this universe. Thor gets a date with Jane, and then he starts walking away. But then we get our big cliffhanger for the episode where a multiversal portal opens up, and we see, first of all, a bunch of Ultron drones, or like robots, start walking through that portal. And then you see at the end of this portal is one giant Emperor Ultron / Vision with the Infinity Stones. This is something I'm so excited to see, because first of all, that's just so cool to think about how, what if in Avengers Age of Ultron actually succeeded, and because his whole plan was to create Vision so that he could take over his body. So then you see that Vision has now become Ultron, and he got the Infinity Stones. I'm interested to see if we find out how he got the Infinity Stones, but that's going to be absolutely crazy. This is, of course, setting up for the Guardians of the Multiverse, which is the big crossover element of this series and this season that we're going to be seeing in these last few episodes. I'm pretty sure next week's episode is the Gamora as Thanos episode, or maybe it's the Black Widow episode. That might be the last one. I'm not completely sure the order here, but I'm excited to see it, and we are getting the Guardians of the Multiverse. We saw that in the trailer there was a scene between Party Thor and Doctor Strange Supreme, so we know those two are going to be meeting up. We know other characters like T'Challa, Star-Lord, we know Captain Carter, Eric Killmonger are all going to be teaming up here in the last few episodes to now take down this Infinity Stoned Ultron, which I think is going to be awesome, because I was wondering, like, alright, what are they going to be teaming up for? Why are the Guardians of the Multiverse forming? And it's going to be to take down Ultron, or Vision, and that is just going to be so cool, because again, just visually so awesome to see this Vision with like this full-on Emperor armor and a cape and everything. I think he had a staff or a spear too with the Infinity Stones. He just looks so cool, and I'm so excited to see where this goes in the last two episodes of Marvel What If. But for now, guys, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. What did you think about Marvel What If episode 7? What if Thor were an only child? Again, just a completely wacky, crazy episode, but I really loved it. Definitely not one of my favorites, but I really liked it. I had a fun time. It was a nice episode, and I'm excited to see where things go from here. But guys, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. What do you think of this episode? And thanks so much for watching. Please drop a like if you enjoyed this video, and hit the subscribe button so I can keep up to date on everything that goes on in the Marvel life.